Thomas woke up again in the middle of the night, his heart racing, his face covered in cold sweat. The clock showed 3:11, always the same time. He tried to take a deep breath, but the feeling was the same as every night. Something inside him knew that this dream wasn't just a dream. The house was shrouded in silence. The rain pattered lightly against the windows, and the sound seemed to come from very far away. Thomas got up, went to the kitchen and filled a glass with water. The light from the refrigerator illuminated the floor, and he noticed damp footprints leading to the back door. His entire body went cold. It wasn't raining when he went to sleep. He flipped the switch. The lights flickered hesitantly, as if something in them was resisting. He opened the door slowly, and the wind carried a strange smell, wet earth and smoke. Outside, the backyard looked the same except for one thing. The flowers he had planted last week were uprooted, arranged in a perfect circle. "Again?" she murmured, her voice almost fading away. In recent months, Thomas had been waking up with fragments of images that made no sense. A deserted road, a cry in the distance, and a woman in a blue dress standing in the rain, looking at him. The psychiatrist said it was trauma, post-accident memory loss. But Thomas didn't remember having been in any accident. All she knew was that there was a hole inside her own mind, and each dream dug deeper. That night, however, something was different. On the kitchen floor, near the sink, there was a small stone covered in mud. When he touched her, an image flashed through his mind like a lightning bolt. A road, headlights, a fallen body, the sound of breaking glass, and a name whispered to the wind. Evelyn. The glass slipped from Thomas's hand and shattered on the floor. The noise seemed to wake the whole house, but he lived alone, or so I thought. The next day, Thomas tried to act as if nothing had happened. He went to work, answered emails, and had coffee with colleagues. But everything seemed distant, as if he were observing the world through a glass. During the afternoon, a notification on his cell phone made him shudder. It was a reminder scheduled exactly 6 months ago. Visit Hollow Lake, September 7th, 5 p.m. He never remembered creating that reminder. The name sounded familiar, Hollow Lake, but it sent a chill down my spine. That night he couldn't sleep. The sound of the rain returned, persistent, and in his dreams the woman in blue called him by name. His face was never clearly visible, but he knew who he was. I knew without understanding. Thomas woke up in the early hours of the morning. The bedroom window was open. The curtains were swaying. On the windowsill there was an old, wet photograph. He picked it up and almost dropped it. It was him, next to a smiling woman in a blue dress. On the back, scribbled in pen, "We promised not to go back there." The wind blew out the light. Thomas stood motionless, clutching the photo tightly. I tried to remember, but each memory came accompanied by pain, as if his own mind were protecting him from something he shouldn't see. At 5 in the morning, he got in his car and drove, without a destination or perhaps with a destiny that had been pursuing him for months. The road was empty, shrouded in fog, and when the GPS marked the end of the route, he saw the rusty sign, Hollow Lake, 1 mile. My heart was beating erratically, and every curve seemed all too familiar. The trees, the sounds, even the smell of the air. Everything about him screamed that he had been there before. The lake was still, surrounded by thick fog. The surface reflected the moon like a broken mirror. Thomas got out of the car and stood there watching the flickering reflection. Each step she took on the soaked earth made her mind pound. Fragmented memories, flashes. A car flipping over, a muffled scream, a woman's voice. "You promised not to tell." He staggered. His hands were trembling. And then he saw a silhouette standing on the other side of the bank. Blue dress, wet hair, eyes fixed on him. For a moment the wind stopped. Everything went silent. "Evelyn," she whispered. The woman did not answer. He simply raised his arm, pointing towards the water. There, something was glistening beneath the surface. Thomas approached slowly. With each step, his heart beat faster, as if his body was trying to stop him from continuing. But he needed to know. I needed a reminder. He knelt down and plunged his hands into the icy water. The fingers touched metal, a necklace, and next to it a rusty car key. A flash crossed his mind. That same key turning the ignition, the headlights illuminating the wet road, Evelyn gritando, and then nothing. Thomas recoiled, stunned. The memories returned in waves, painful and vivid. He remembered everything, regarding the accident, of the body he never denounced, from the lake that swallowed him, along with the promise of silence. The woman took a step forward, and for a moment, her face became his. The wind blew, obscuring the reflected moon. When Thomas blinked, She had disappeared, but the necklace was still in her hand, heavy, cold, real. Back home at dawn, he looked in the living room mirror. His reflection seemed distant, almost strange, and deep down, behind him, for a brief second, he saw the reflection of a woman in a blue dress smiling. He closed his eyes, and for the first time, he remembered of everything.